You know what the problem with America is? We don't pay enough taxes. Oh no, that's not coming from me. No. Oh, this comes from Paul Waldman writing at The Week on Tax Day. As millions of Americans, me included, were writing a big hefty check to the Treasury Department. Yeah, he has the nerve to tell us that we don't pay enough taxes. Hey everybody, I'm Steve Green with Scott Ott and Bill Whittle, and this is the right angle on, are we taxed too little? No, by the way. Brought to you by the members of BillWhittle.com. Listen, gents, this is just a crap column he wrote for The Week. But I'm going to read you a little something from this. He says, we pay much lower taxes than most of our peer countries, like we have any peer countries.
That's it. Well said, Steve.
Right? He said, in the United States, our tax to GDP ratio is about 26%, far below the 34% average of the advanced economies. There's no more advanced economy in the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD, and drastically less than some European countries. Denmark, that's who we want to be, tops the list at 46%. But Scott, as you look at these numbers, we have American-style tax rates. I mean, I wish they were lower, but, we're a tax protest country. That was our founding. But we have an almost European-sized welfare state. So does Waldman maybe have a point here?
Well, not only do we have an almost European-style welfare state, but we're protecting those weasels over there who are living in their welfare states.
Right on, man.
Our military spending and capabilities have to far exceed theirs because they know they're under our protective umbrella. And if you consider the way things were, I know that both of you are, kind of Churchill scholars and know that before World War II, the United States was considered to basically be this kind of standoffish, somewhat weak entity because it couldn't really defend anything outside of its own borders. And it took a lot of convincing on the part of Winston Churchill and others to get the United States to enter into this war. And after that point, you get the sense that Americans just said, you know what? We're never going to be in that state of unpreparedness ever again. And now right. we broke it, we bought it situation. Not that we broke it, but now the vast number of people in this world come under the protective umbrella of our tax state here. And so I think that we are taxed enough already, and we put our money in smarter places, despite all our complaints of our government, than these people in other countries do. But, you did mention, Steve, that Paul Waldman writes for a publication called The Week. I have never read THEWEAK. But maybe I'll look into it.
I should have known that was coming. All right, Bill, let me get what Waldman really used the tax issue, I think, to hide his real agenda. And you can see the mask slip in this part I'm going to read to you. He says, now to some conservatives and libertarians, the appropriate response to those figures, the ones I just quoted to Scott, is that's why we are more free than them being the Europeans and other high-tax countries. He says, but are we? If by free you mean more vulnerable, then yes, we have chosen to create a system that makes life more cruel and difficult for everything else. This guy just hates liberty, Bill.
That's simpler than that. He's just a low-life, poor, commie loser. What else do you need to know about the guy?
Right.
He wants a European welfare system because he figures he's going to get more free stuff from it. He's all about raising taxes because he doesn't pay any taxes, or if he does, he doesn't pay a lot of taxes. I'm willing to bet you that being a contributor to the weak, the very weak, is in fact not in America's top 10 highest paying professions. So like everybody else, he's all about wealth redistribution when it's other people's money coming to him, but when it's time for his money to go to someplace else, he doesn't make any money, so it's a pretty good deal. Now, I just want to address this issue of the other advanced economies of the world. I'm sorry about the loss of eye contact there earlier. I just grabbed a chart that I had seen earlier. It says from 2015, but it's the latest one we have solid data on. Poor, weak, backwards United States of America provides 24.3% of the world economy. Number 2 is China, which is a little more than half of that, 14%.
Wow.
Japan is barely 6%. That's their first real kind of socialized country, but Japan is making very Japan's making everything except for Japanese. And so it's
Yeah.
in a death spiral that is not going to recover from. Germany, socialist Germany, less than 5% of the world's total economic output, about a fifth of what we do. France, 3%. India, 2%. Italy is in the top 10. 2.5%. Brazil produces 2.4%. And Canada, socialist Canada, our closest neighbors, produce 2%. They produce less than a tenth of what we do in America in terms of economic output. None of the top 10 biggest economies are any of these Scandinavian super welfare states. So when we talk about these less advanced economies in Europe and in Scandinavia, when we talk about these somewhat backwards, clearly not fully functioning at full efficiency, less advanced economies than the United States, makes you wonder why you want to move to that particular model. And more than anything, you look at this number and you say we're producing $18 trillion a year in economic GDP, a quarter of the world, with 5% of the population. And this is what we're doing with this brain-sucking creature on our back that is not only taking more than half of our available strength, but is in fact making sure that we spend most of our productive time doing nothing but if not actually feeding the beast, then reading instructions on how to feed the beast.
Yeah, all the paperwork, the hundreds of millions of man hours it takes just to keep up with the tax code. It'll break your heart. It's a tax on top of the tax, and it's onerous as all hell. The founders would be very, very disappointed with us on tax day. Listen, folks, you know what? Actually, no. I want to address Paul Waldman directly in my finish here. Mr. Waldman, there's no more powerful example, or there's no more powerful leadership than leading by example. And the figures you quoted is tax to GDP ratio about 26%, and the average for advanced economies is 34%. So that's about a 25% increase. So, Mr. Waldman, what you should do to lead by example, to really stir people on your pet issue, you need to figure out your total tax bill for 2017, increase it by 25%, and write a check write a check to the U.S. Treasury and stick it in an envelope addressed to Gifts to the United States, U.S. Department of the Treasury, Funds Management Branch, P.O. Box 1328, Parkersburg, West Virginia, 26106-1328, and they will be more than happy to deposit your check. So get to it, Mr. Waldman. I know you've got it in you. And that's your right angle on Taxed Enough Already, if I can steal that phrase. Brought to you by the members of BillWhittle.com. Thanks for tuning in, everybody, and I look forward, Mr. Waldman, to seeing that canceled check.
The loneliest P.O. box in the world.
That's right.